A warm welcome to today's session. The non-dual teachings give us lots of explanation and guidance. They show where our difficulties come from and provide solutions. The teachings recognize that our body and mind will always be affected by the changes and ups and downs of life. This is why nothing in the world seems to entirely fulfill us, and we are never completely free of anxiety. Yet from the teachings, we also learn that our body and mind exists within a greater whole, which encompasses and transcends all the changes and ups and downs. And our true nature is at one with that greater whole. The feeling that we are our body and mind and no more is the outcome of a distorted or incomplete view. Our true self is the universal, transcendent, and this may be discovered in direct self-knowledge. Here lies the possibility of freedom from all limitations, suffering and uncertainty. It is also, one might say, our natural condition. The path to inner illumination is a journey home, not to a distant land. Most important, the teachings offer practical guidance on how to approach this discovery for ourselves. What is the essential first step towards this inner awakening? It is to bring harmony and stability into our mind and into our relationship with those around us through ethical and considerate living. This stage is shared by all the genuine wisdom traditions, and the guidance is for everyone. Then, if we choose, we may pursue the highest fulfillment by embarking on an inner inquiry into the nature of our own being. We learn to distinguish between appearance and reality, self and not self, what passes and what abides eternally. In this, meditation and related practices are central, supported by reflection on the philosophy and on the ongoing ethical living, which conduces to inner integrity and affirms our connectedness with all creatures. One of the practical challenges we face is how to keep all this in focus. We need a way to grasp the essentials and hold on to them. As we go about our life, at each moment, various aspects of the teachings will be relevant. We need a way of remembering what we have learned so that it can infuse our mental world and guide our actions. This is the challenge of how to live consciously. All the wisdom traditions recognize and respond to it. They offer representations of truth, tangible or abstract, that we can keep in mind and connect with as a living presence. Such teachings also provide expressions of reverence or appeals for support that can be made vocally or inwardly. A concentrated form of this practice is to take a name of what is highest and to repeat it, outwardly or inwardly, whenever we need help in sustaining our remembrance of the deeper truth in which we live and move and have our being. Any meaningful name may be used in this way. Among them are Buddha, Allah, God, Rama, Krishna, Christ, or Brahman, a word indicating the absolute, the whole. Or we may feel an affinity with words or names such as light, truth, beauty absolute. To repeat such a word or name to ourselves will not take us away from the present situation or distract us from coping with it. Such a name will always help us, because the effect is to focus the mind on what is real and important to us and needs attention right now. And the name will create associations that are supportive and creative. We can better understand the power of names of truth if we observe certain features of the way our mind works. A significant fact is that we can only think about one thing at a time. This is easily disguised by the way the mind moves swiftly from one idea to another. But even when we are multitasking, as it's called, our attention is actually switching rapidly between subjects. And at any one moment, it is just occupied with just one of them. This is the key to effective psychological self-help. It means that by replacing one thought by another, we make a real difference to the condition of our mind. And with practice, it is possible to replace the stream of random and disconnected ideas with one sustained idea or a sequence of consciously directed thoughts. This is the basis of meditation. And it is the way through the appearances and distractions on the surface of our mind to the deeper level of our being, which is not isolated from the reality in all, and where lasting security and fulfillment are to be found. If we can only think of one thing at a time, we might wonder how we can have the complex mental life that we do. Part of the answer relates to another feature of the mind, which is the way it forms concepts. With extreme facility, our mind puts ideas and impressions together into single compounds. Concepts we use all the time, like friend or holiday or home, are composed of so many impressions and associations that if we spelled them all out, they would each fill a book. But once these concepts are formed, our mind can take each of them as one idea and then merge or link them with others. Forming concepts in this way is so natural to us that we hardly notice it happening. But without this ability, our human experience would be unrecognizable. We can now understand better why the practice of repeatedly recalling a name of higher truth is so powerful. It is because our thought space is occupied by the name to the exclusion of other ideas. And the name carries a distillation of meaning and a wealth of associations. Among all the names for higher truth, one has been the chosen focus for many students of non-duality, and that is Om. In recent times, Om has been widely popularized, even commercialized. But if we put aside any preconceptions, we can find its true significance and value for us. Om is presented in the Upanishads, which were written in Sanskrit. But Om itself belongs to no particular language or religion. Its full of meaning is elucidated. No, its full meaning is elucidated by the non-dual teachings. It can be used by those who are identified with any wisdom tradition or none. Om signifies the supreme reality, the source of all. It includes all levels of experience and bridges the divide between experience and the one who experiences. Om indicates non-duality in a particular way. In most cases, an object and its name are distinct, and many different names could be and sometimes are used for the same object. In the case of Om, the name and the named are not so separable. When pronounced aloud, Om begins with the sound O, then comes U, and finally Om. This includes all the open vowel sounds. All the other sounds are made by restricting or stopping these vowels. So Om includes in essence all the sounds that all names are formed of, as well as being a name for the all and the source of all. The phases of Om are related to levels of our experience. Each day, our life comprises a regular cycle and combination of 3 states of consciousness, which may be called the waking state, the dreaming state, and deep sleep. In the waking state, we mostly experience the world around us through our senses. In dreams, it is our mind that manufactures the forms we experience. In deep sleep, there is no experience of objects, but all our cognitive powers are latent, ready to be brought back into operation. The 3 states are interconnected. During the waking state, although our senses predominate, our mind is actively organizing the sense data and projecting memories and associations onto what we perceive. As we know, our waking state includes a lot that we might call daydreaming. In the dream state, many of the impressions received when awake are still active. And in deep sleep, although there is no subject-object awareness, all our mental faculties remain as potentialities, and on waking, After deep sleep, we often find that somewhere outside the range of our awareness, connections have been made in our understanding and things put into better perspective. In Om, the first sound O relates to the receptive phase of consciousness, exemplified by the waking state. O is a natural sound and one that is often associated with new experiences. Ah, what's this? The U sound relates to the projecting, organizing aspect of the mind, most evident when dreaming, and again it is a natural sound, often expressive of this kind of thinking. Oh yes, that's how it is. And is associated with dreamless sleep and the apparent withdrawal of the mental powers. Once again, this is a natural sound associated with conclusion, satisfaction, and mental quiescence. When Om is repeated, between each repetition there comes a silence. Silence is the medium in which sounds occur, and this silence is revealed whenever sound is absent. The silence in Om repetition relates to what underlies all three phases of mental life, and that is pure conscious awareness. Pure consciousness is present equally in the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep states, which seem to obscure it but couldn't exist without it. And at the universal level, pure consciousness is the ultimate reality, whose names include Brahman, God, the Absolute, Om. Om is also represented visually. It is comprised of 3 curves, symbolizing the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep states. Above them is a point of no dimensions, representing the pure consciousness which has no limitations. Between the 3 curves and the point is part of a circle standing for infinity. In one sense, the point is closest to the state of mental quiescence, but at the same time, it is that which reveals and makes possible all the other states. Om, then, is a name for ultimate truth, the truth behind all our experiences. As such, it is the object of our highest love, reverence, and aspirations. Om is also the substance from which all names are formed. By repeating the name Om, we can keep the essential teachings in the background or the foreground of our mind. It replaces unwanted thoughts, focuses the attention on what is really important and sets off the most helpful associations. To concentrate our thoughts on Om arouses the highest love. To repeat Om with feeling fills the understanding with light. Because the name and the named are so at one in Om, repeating Om helps us pass on from thinking about the teachings to becoming absorbed in what they indicate and ultimately identified with that. Seekers and devotees have found that practices based on Om are a most effective way of bringing the theory to life in our own being. How to do this? We may call on Om spontaneously whenever we need immediate help. We can make a practice of repeating Om at certain times. And we may find that the repetition of Om becomes almost as natural and continuous as our breathing and forms a foundation of our inner quest. Om also has a place in the special time we dedicate each day to meditation. So let us come to our session for today. This is a structured set of practices, and it is one we could use each day if we decide to go on with non-dual meditation and inquiry. So first let's adjust our posture. And today I'm sitting on a chair. Either a cushion on the floor or a firm chair is fine. The important point is that the body is upright but not strained. We begin today and always with an inner preparation. Why do we do this? It's because in meditation, at first, we rely on our individual mental powers, including our concentration and our will. But the aim of meditation is to bring into focus a power within us that is more than personal, the power that underlies all being. This power is always present. So let us approach the meditation with respect and calmness, feeling the presence of the reality beyond thoughts within and around us. Now we're going to do a breathing practice. First, breathe consciously, deeply, evenly. Make the in and out breath the same length. If possible, breathe through the nose. Then, as you breathe in, hear inwardly the sound ah, and on the out breath, hear the sound mm. Relax deeply by focusing your attention on the sound ah. As you breathe in fully, let go of all tension, hearing the as you breathe out completely. At this point, there is no need to think actively about the meaning of Om. For now, we are just using it to practice making the mind still and focused. If the mind wanders, as soon as you notice, bring the attention back to your breath and oh. Let's do this together now for 4 to 5 minutes. As you breathe in, hear inwardly the sound O, and on the out breath, hear the sound in breath O, out breath conscious breathing. Now we're going to do a visualization practice. For a few moments, look at the visual form of Om, and this will be shown on the screen. Don't strain in any way, just look at Om as you would look at the picture. Then close your eyes and see Om inwardly as if drawn in light. Keep your attention on the form of Om in light. Let your thoughts be about the way the form of Om represents the states of consciousness and what underlies them all. In this way, keep the image of Om steadily before your inner eye. If the mind wanders, bring it back to the form of Om. So let's do the practice together now for about 5 minutes. First, look at the visual form of Om. Without strain, just look at it as you would look at the picture. Now close your eyes and see Om inwardly as if drawn in light. Keep your attention on the form of Om in light. If your mind is active, let your thoughts be about the way the form of Om represents the states of consciousness and what underlies them all. Keep your attention on the form of Om in light. see inwardly the form of Om in light. Now we're going to meditate on a text, and it is this. Om, revealing all, self-luminous, eternal, is the light of pure consciousness. That light am I. Om. Repeat the text inwardly to yourself so that the words are established in your mind. Then, through focused attention, allow the words to enter more deeply into your being. If the mind wanders, as soon as you notice, calmly but firmly bring it back to the text. Feel that the text applies to you personally and make it your own. Let's meditate together now. Om. Revealing all, self-luminous, eternal, is the light of pure consciousness. That light am I. Om. Revealing all, self-luminous, eternal, is the light of pure consciousness. That light am I. Om. Om, revealing all, self-luminous, eternal, is the light of pure consciousness. That light am I. Om. Om, revealing all, self-luminous, eternal, is the light of pure consciousness. That light am I. Om. Just as we began with the preparation, it is helpful to close the meditation consciously before resuming our activities in the world. We can do this by spending a few moments offering thoughts of unconditional goodwill to all, respecting everyone's special qualities, and at the same time remembering the underlying unity that transcends all separation and conflict. We offer thoughts of unconditional goodwill to all without exception. Thank you for joining me today and for all you are doing to live in this light of higher truth. The power of focusing on the name of truth that has no narrowness attached to it is a sure aid to awakening to our true identity.